So this is the second part of our summary of the Lent Course 2026. We are still in the theme of where is the kingdom of God in these troubling times. And the second session was focused on Christian ethos and politics. So we were trying to find where can we find answers to this question. So what kind of relationship between the church and the state? So we had a look at the strict separation of between the church and the state, and the question of welfare state and secularism. And we questioned the fact that the established church is faith dictated by law or public service. So we had a look at particularly at what the Church of England is doing. And we've got different pictures. So we talked about the law of separation between the church and the state in France in 1905, and why it happened and what kind of relationship it was. We talk about the canton of Geneva in Switzerland, who is now very secular, but at this beginning was a theocracy that was founded by Jean Calvin for the French speakers. We talked about the fact that the welfare state, which has got Christian ethos, was either provided by the church directly or by the ethos that the church brought to society, and we had the example of the NHS. And we talk about the established church, and this picture was showing that although the Church of England is the state church, it's not the state church in the way that is imposing its belief to all the citizens in UK, but delivering a public service to all and being the church for all. We had a look at the source of Christian ethos and the different ways of watching the Bible and extracting our understanding of politics from it. First possibility is Bible taken as a whole, whether it's inerrant or not, inerrant being infallible. Everything is taken in account, which means that you have a look as well as the Deuteronomy, or, well, in the case, for instance, Deuteronomy was about the food, prescription of food, where in Deuteronomy there are some food who are not allowed, but at the same time we've got in the Gospel of Matthew Jesus saying that what was going inside the man wasn't staining the man, but it was what was going outside his mouth that was making a difference. Hence making the food prohibitions invalid. And then in the Acts we have the story of this food coming from heaven, and the angel saying that we could eat everything. The second way of looking at the Bible is the Old Testament is for the Jews, the Gospels is for the times of the historical Jesus, and the epistles are for the present. And the question what Paul says is what Jesus says, ? And this is a view that is becoming quite trendy in some conservative evangelical communities who actually focus solely on the word of Paul. And another way is to say that the Bible is inspired by God, written by human hand, not inerrant, translated, but contextual, which means that everything has to be scrutinized, studied, and put in context before extracting anything theological or political. So which are the corpus of texts should we take for the Christian ethos? So there's the Great Commandment, and here you've got it in Hebrew, Shema Israel, it follows with Adonai Anuenu Adonai Echad, which means there's only one God and it's one Lord and it's the Lord, and you shall love him with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your body. but also that you should love your neighbor as yourself. The second could be the Decalogue in the Exodus. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false testimony, shall not commit any adultery, etc., etc. You know the 10 commandments. Should we take the Nazareth Manifesto in Luke, where Jesus is saying, I'm here to give good news to the poor, heal the sick, liberate the captive, etc.? Or should we take the Beatitudes, also known as the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew? How can we know it works? We have to look at John 13:35, where Jesus says, by this all know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. So we had a look at all these kind of texts and how they could lead us into the Christian ethos. Question, can Leviticus, Numbers or Deuteronomy be taken in consideration? And we had a look at all these references where we realized that very easily, if we follow the Old Testament, you can have to stone people to death for whatever they do, and sometimes it's just not respecting the Sabbath. And we went through study cases. We went through slavery and had a look at how it could be justified by the Bible, depending on the way you read the Bible, or how he could anti-slavery is justified in the Bible by reading the Bible in another way. We talked about divorce, and was Jesus condemning divorce or repudiation, and what marriage is in the Bible, whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament. We talked about abortion. We talked also about homosexuality. So these were the cases that we had to go through. And finally, we had a look at the politics nowadays, and when they claim to have Christian ethos and the differences that we can find. We've got the example here in Germany with CDU-CSU, which is the Christian Democrats. That's the national gathering linked with the Bavarian one. And they are mostly into, it's conservative by name, but actually, well, it's not conservative, it's Christian democracy, which means that they follow the ethos mostly in the way of Jesus was saying in the Nazareth Manifesto. They are very into welfare state. We've got here in Belgium the Vlaams Belang, which is extremely conservative and is taking religion as an identity. Fratelli d'Italia in Italy, which is very centered on the value of family. And we've got the Fidesz in Hungary, that is very focused on a strictly conservative ethos of Christianity and implementing that in their politics. So this was the second session of our Lent course.